Hi guys. Hi Jackie. How you doing?
Hey, Wendy.
How you doing?
I'm good.
So today's a day and another COVID day, and it is acting like a COVID day 2020. In the last hour or so, it has really acted COVID 2020. That's just seems to be the vein of what happens when we record shows. That stuff happens, and then we just move right through, plow right through it, and just make greatness happen on camera. Right. So this is episode 11 of Black Coffee and Crime. My name is Brandy, and this is Jackie.
Hola.
And so for the new people joining us, especially new people that might be joining us via YouTube, which is going to be our primary channel for our episodes now. You can always go to Instagram at Black Coffee Crime, and also Facebook at Black Coffee Crime to see what we're doing, what we're talking about in upcoming weeks. And any stories that we may find on Al Gore's internet, you'll be able to find that always on Instagram and on Facebook. But our shows will actually be on YouTube. It's a universal way that everyone can see what we're doing, so you don't have to really subscribe to much social media unless you just want to know ahead of time. But you can always come here. Our shows will always air on Thursdays at 7. So having said that, that is a part of our weekly church announcements. Also part of the church announcements that Jackie or I are not law enforcement or law professionals. We're just obsessed with crime, and we like to talk about it. We like to analyze it. We like to laugh about it if we can. So these are our opinions. We do give the facts as we find them, and we'll let you know our sources as well. So, be kind to us as well as other viewers and listeners, and always obey your ushers. Those are the church announcements as follows, and govern yourselves accordingly. All right. So, since the actual story that we're going to do on Charles Harrelson is fairly short for some reason, well, the reason is because I thought the man's life was a little bit more illustrious than it is, but it ain't. But there's still a lot of stuff that happened this week. Stuff that I found on Al Gore's internet, and boy. So, of course, I always ask Jackie first. So, is there anything that you saw? See, it's being COVID week already. Look at that. Anything that you saw on the internet this week that intrigued you, scared you, or just all around fascinated you?
The young gentleman, I think this was yesterday, the young gentleman that the last guy that, I can't remember his name at Fort Hood, because we all know Fort Hood, don't go there. So they are ruling his death as suicidal.
Mm-hmm. Wait, but that's not the last guy, though. That's the second to the last guy.
Yeah, second to the last guy. I'm sorry. And I can't remember his name right now. I have it written up, but I forgot my notebook. And yeah.
Let me find it. Let me see. Let me see what his name is. Oh, wait. I pulled up the latest guy, not the guy before. Yeah, Fort Hood is on his own top, but he was missing. This was the guy that was missing for a minute, right? And
yes,
his parents
reported the abuse, the verbal, a sexual, maybe possible sexual abuse, and I just thought it was weird that they're ruling it a suicide.
Right, because he, just like Vanessa Guillen, was reporting alleged sexual abuse. I don't know if it was sexual abuse on him or someone else, and then all of a sudden he's missing, and his death is declared a suicide. Now, the latest guy, so that happened this month in September, the one that you're talking about. And then
you're right,
there's another one.
There is. Yes, there is.
And this was Private Second Class Carlton Chi, 25, from Pine Hill, New Mexico. He was actually a member of the Navajo Nation. He died in a training situation
Wow.
But they haven't done the autopsy yet, so they can't rule. They're saying it's not foul play, but they really can't make that ruling as of yet, whether it is foul play or not. But it's definitely strange that this is the 26th person that has died at Fort Hood this year. Some of about 10 or 11 of them have been under suspicious circumstances. Others have been during training exercises, or even those military members who are overseas but assigned to Fort Hood. Now, also, the commanding officer has been relieved of his duty.
Yes.
Earlier this month. He was looking to transfer. That has been denied. Basically, they're saying that because he has been relieved of his duty, that is basically career suicide. His career is over. And he's like a general. I posted that story on Facebook. But yeah, he's been relieved of his duty because of all the stuff that is going on at Fort Hood. And
some juicy details, somebody I know that was at Fort Hood that actually lived on base. So when I asked her about it, she did inform me that there are certain things that she is not allowed to discuss that she went through, but that it was probably the worst experience she had ever had. And she was on that base for 4 years. She served in the service in the Army. She served in the Army for about 12 years. But at her beginning stages, she was at Fort Hood. And we're talking about in the early 90s. And she hated it. She said it was horrible. They got mistreated. Pretty much people can do whatever they want to each other. She was like, you are degraded as a woman in that particular environment. And she hated it. And she didn't even tell me some of the stuff she had to report. She just told me that. She was like, girl, it was horrible.
Some of the comments that I've read on Facebook and also reading articles online, like this article that I was reading from, getting the information from, was KWTX, military. So I guess it's a military news site, but KWTX. They were reporting on private second class Carlton Chi. But, all these articles, like when you look at them, you can see the comments and people are like, what is going on at Fort Hood? Is there a serial killer? But it doesn't necessarily, some of the issues or the deaths kind of follow a pattern. Like the guy whose car was found a couple miles away from the base and it was on fire. Vanessa Guillen, and the soldier that they found that had been dead for a year. So it's like all of these like crazy situations and incidences, and they don't seem to connect. But I'm wondering, like, as years go by and if the Department of Justice does a thorough investigation and fair investigation, if these things will come out. Is there a serial killer? Is there someone there sabotaging soldiers? What the hell's going on at Fort Hood? Because this is the most dangerous place in the whole United States military.
It is.
And it's not in Iraq. It's not in Afghanistan. It is right here in Texas. And it's the most dangerous place for soldiers right now, which makes no sense at all. So I don't know what's going on at Fort Hood, but something is every week we seem to be reporting something talking about Fort Hood, which is crazy because we've been doing this since June. And since June, we've been talking about Fort Hood like every single week. So, yeah, that's happening.
What you got? I know you
now
got
this one. Okay, so this one is not funny, but it's crazy as all get out. This man in Texas, this is from a People magazine article. Let me pull it back up. People magazine reports that this guy kills his family because they were making too much noise.
Yes,
he killed his family because they were making too much noise. But here's the thing. He said that because he turned himself in, basically. So I'm going to read you part of what happened. So James Manning is charged with capital murder after police said that he called 911 to admit to killing his wife and her 2 teenage sons.
Wow.
He killed his wife. Huh?
Because they were having a good time and being too loud.
Being too loud. But it gets a little deeper than that. Like, something must have been wrong with him. He says that, well, Victoria Button was 35 and her sons, Zyquan and Isaac, who were 14 and 16 respectively, were the victims. And basically what happened was he was feeling sick and he had headache. And they were making a lot of noise and telling him basically that nothing was wrong. So they were saying nothing's wrong with you, and they just continued to make a lot of noise. And he shot his wife 2 times. And let's see here. Yeah, he had a headache. This is from People Magazine. Manning had a headache and said his wife and the couple's 2 sons, well, 13 and 16 in the article, were too loud. They had an argument, and he grabbed a handgun and shot his 35-year-old wife in at least 2 times, killing her. Then he allegedly shot the boys, Zyquan and Isaac, killing them as well. He called the 911 about an hour later. He admitted to what he did. And during the interview, which he agreed to without an attorney, it says, quoting one of the officers, says, the suspect stated that he was tired of all 3 of the victims yelling and telling him there was nothing wrong with him, so he shot them. Do you know how bad your headache got to be for you to just
kill your whole family, the people you love? Yeah.
And he says, like, they were saying that nothing is wrong with you, you're okay, you're fine. And so he got upset and grabbed his gun and shot them.
So is he their biological dad? I need to know that.
So the People Magazine article says the couple's 2 sons. So, but then on the, I got that story from Instagram from True Crime Headlines on Instagram. So if you're a junkie like we are, go ahead and check them out. True Crime Headlines. So that's where I initially got the link from, the story from. And then I went a little further to find out where they got it from. So they got it from People Magazine. So it says the couple's 2 sons, but then it's also referred to as the wife's 2 sons. But, you know, if he's living there, the stepfather, that's their kids. But there's nothing else that I could find that says, you know, he had a migraine condition, a medical condition, that he had anything going on that would, you know, lead to this action happening.
If he did have a migraine issue, they wouldn't be laughing and joking or saying you're just joking, because they would already know the intensity of the migraines that he already gets. So they would know that would be a true situation.
I mean, I get yelling at kids like, shut up. But I mean, so if it wasn't a migraine, I would have to think, or I would think that he had some sort of emotional or mental breakdown. And, you know, if he had some noise in his own head that no one else could hear, and that was driving him to a point where his head was hurting or was bothering him. And then the noise in the house, like normal noise, kind of exacerbates that, and you just lose it. There's lots of stories this week of people killing like their parents. One guy killed his mom in Florida. Crazy stuff. People, I don't know what. I think the issues are much bigger than just what they say it is. You know, you ate my last pork chop, or no one stabs nobody with pork chop. Now I know pork chops are good, especially when they fry hard and that little gristle meat is on the side. but you're not gonna kill nobody for a pork chop. I mean, you kind of want to sometimes, but you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna stab somebody.
It's been a lot of death in general, just a lot of death. So.
Do you think there's more
going on?
Or we're paying attention to it because we're at home?
Wow, yeah, maybe that could be it.
like we're here. We can pay attention to all the craziness that's out there now.
Is this a bunch of crazy?
Yeah, and most of it happens in Florida, but
Yeah.
That's just me. Okay, I got two more things. One of them is crime related. The other one totally is not.
Maybe one of those are what I think I am.
Right. So, okay. So this last thing that is crime related is a gentleman by the name of Curtis Flowers from Mississippi has been in prison for 23 years for the murders of 4 people in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Get this though. He has been tried for these murders 6 times.
Wow.
6. That means that every single trial has resulted in a conviction, but every time the conviction has been overturned.
Right.
And it's overturned because of prosecutorial, I think I said that right. I may have said it wrong. Somebody let me know. Prosecutorial, that's the prosecutorial. Got to say that slow. Misconduct, either the jury not being fair, investigations about the murders that just didn't match up. Let's see here. Like suppression of information. So, and get also, it has been the same prosecutor every single time. They never changed the prosecutor.
Wow.
So what they're saying is, and I heard about this story either last year or, it was in 2019 that I heard about the story, because they were going to try him the 7th time. But the same prosecutor kept doing it. Like he got tried by an all-white jury every single time.
Oh, they send it up.
In Mississippi. And it wasn't the fact that it was just an all-white jury. Because if those are your peers, those are your peers. But no matter what color they are, those are your peers. But he excused all the black jurors every single time. So there were black jurors in the pool, and they were excused every single time. So 6 times this man was tried in 23 years. It is unprecedented to have someone tried 6 times for the same crime. Like at some point, typically with the 3rd trial, they stop. Yeah, these are not mistrials. These are convictions that are later overturned. Now the 6th time they appealed, he got a new lawyer, and they appealed. The U.S. Supreme Court denied the appeal. They denied his appeal. However, the attorney, the DA who kept trying it, finally stepped down in January of this year. And then they just a few days ago, this month, have decided not to try him a 2nd time. I mean, a 7th time, and now he's free to go.
I was just to say, I mean, he's only spent 20 years of his time there.
Right. So in this article from NPR, which is not NPR.org, which I got it from, it says that his first trial, the all-white jury moved to convict. The 2nd, 3rd, and 6th, there was only 1 black juror also in convictions. And 2 of his trials, multiple black jurors, they were deadlocked. So I correct myself, and there were all-white jurors all the time. So there were like 1 black juror, they were deadlocked. And then when they had, it's just all this. So suppression of information, taking out all the, stacking the jury basically. So every time an appeals court has said, no, we're overturning it. And then they're like, oh, we're going to try it again, but with the same guy. So Curtis Flowers, who was now 50, is free to go. It says that he was accused of a shooting in 1996 with the deaths of Tardy furniture owner Bertha Tardy, Carmen Rigby, Robert Golden, and Derek Stewart. He used to work at the store, but he had no criminal record prior to 1996. Wow. And the prosecutor, his name was Doug Evans, who did this 6 times, who finally quit in January. Doug Evans. He immediately locked him in as a prime suspect and did not pursue anyone else for the next 23 years. So,
whole life. I mean, not his whole life, but 20 years of his life gone.
A good portion. Like, I don't know if he has kids, but if he did, he missed their lives, grandchildren's lives, or missed the opportunity to have those experiences. And this is a person with no criminal record. So I'm not saying that someone without a criminal record can't start, but typically killing 4 people, you would think that you would have a
and he's in his 30s when supposedly this happened, correct?
Right. He was 20. Well, he's 50 now, so he was 27.
Yeah.
So you went 27 years in Mississippi without Winona, Mississippi, without a criminal record, and you're down for 4 murders, capital murders.
Yeah, I'm not saying that no one can. It's just the likelihood of that happening is very slim.
Right.
Extremely slim.
Previous articles that I read when I first heard about this last year, it's kind of like a toss-up. His attorney wasn't arguing whether or not he did it. She never said whether he did it or not. She was arguing about the fairness of the trial and the fairness of trying this man 6 times. Like, if you've tried him 6 times and all of these convictions are overturned and you've had 2 deadlocked juries, at this point, you need to give up because there's something wrong with what you're doing or what you're trying to prove. If the evidence is not there and you have to go through all this to prove it, then something's not right. So she wasn't really the appeal process wasn't about whether or not he did it. It was about the fairness of the trial and the fairness of trying him
at that point, which at that point is the main focus, because at that point I don't have to really fight and say if he's innocent or not, because obviously you're not even finding enough information to consider him
to make
it stick on him. So at that point, I don't blame her. Ain't no need for me to argue about it. It's obvious that's not even the case.
Right. So it's not fair. And one of the things about the justice system in the United States is supposed to be about a fair and just trial. And so if you can't do this fairly, it doesn't matter how much evidence you do or don't have, it can't go anywhere because you're not doing it right. Which is the reason why OJ got off. Not that they didn't have evidence, it's because they did it wrong.
That's it.
I know some people are going to disagree with me about OJ, but your mammy. You know what I'm saying? Your mammy.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, your bald-headed mammy at that.
Your boy did. Just did.
Okay, so this last thing that we have to talk about, because Jackie and I typically don't talk during the week. We kind of give each other updates about what we got about to do. But listen, last week we had a battle. The battle to end all versus battles. And I noticed something that you and I were on 2 different sides of this battle.
Okay. You
were Team Monica and I was Team Brady. So I just want to know how you felt about it. Were you pleased with it? Were you satisfied? Did you put one way above the other like people were predicting, or was it even? What did you feel about it?
I am a Monica fan because Monica sings with emotion, and because I'm an emotional person, it's easy for me to resonate with her a little bit easier. I'm not 100% happy with some of her behavior. I'm really not, and the reason for that being now off the camera,
there was all types of this in that show, all kind of shade.
It was a lot of shade between the both of them, and it at some point you were kind of like, okay, that's awkward. But overall, I still liked it though. It was still good. And even off and I don't know, that could be a part of the image. It could have been because when they were on the side, they were just chatting, hugging, laughing. It was two completely different versions. So it could have been just, maybe, how you have a friend that says something smart and you be like, but you still love them because they're your friend.
You'd be like, so you being funny? Is this what you're doing? You being funny? Right.
So it could have been one of those things, but I thought it was so good. I wasn't happy that Monica did not sing The Boy's Mind. I'm like, come on, we were all waiting.
That's what everyone was waiting for. Like, just get to The Boy's Mind.
I'm like, the whole time I was like, it's time. I'm already have myself together, ready to sing my part and other person's part. I already have myself ready to go. And then here she go over there, stiff stuff,
Yeah. So I was Team Brandy. And that's just because, like you say, you resonate, with Monica more. I resonate more with Brandy. I believe that Monica is extremely and ridiculously talented. Her voice is big and has been big since we met her with the white shoes on and the brown suit.
Right.
Okay. I just, I love Brandy. She goes back a little further with me. I'm a little bit older than you, so, well, a little bit more than little. But, so Brandy, I kind of grew up with that, with her voice. And I think a lot of people counted, a lot of young people counted Brandy out because she's been out of the game. She hasn't really put any music out in like 10 years or so, any significant music out in like 10 years. But y'all didn't go to the catalogs because as soon as she started playing them songs, I was like, oh, let me download this. Let me go this. Let me get this. And when she played Broken Hearted, the song that she did with Wanye.
Oh, yeah, that's my song. That is actually on my playlist anyway. It's on my playlist. That
took me back to my senior year in high school. I was dating this guy. I'm not going to say his name because I ain't going to say his name. He's innocent. I probably ruined him. So I probably ruined him. But, he was like, I'm going to quit you. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm going to quit you. And I was like, all right. Okay. But I had to see him, like, he said, I'm going to quit you. But then he was still picking me up from school to take me to school every day. I don't know how that happened. Taking me home from school every day. So he broke up with me. But then he's like, I was like, what are you doing outside my class? What do you want? He's like, I'm going to take you home. All right. Whatever. But I just remember that song because, like, I don't know if it was the night that he called me or sometime after that song was out on the radio. So that's what that reminded me of.
Do you understand? Yeah. That song will never get played out ever.
Yeah. And have you ever all of that. So I think it was a great battle. It was, like you said, it was awkward at times because Brandy seems to be awkward just normally, and Monica seems to be a little bit more serious. So I just don't think their personalities match, but it was still a good show. I appreciated it, and apparently 17,000, 100,000 million people also appreciated because it was the biggest versus battle. Now this Sunday, Patty and Gladys. Honey, I am going to be going to the thrift store and I'm going to find me a dress with shoulder pads. And I am going to put on some fuchsia and royal blue eyeshadow and red lipstick, honey.
Oh, Lord.
And get me a bottle of cold wine. And I love Gladys. Let me tell you, I love Gladys, but I'm Team Patty.
Team Patty. That ain't no debate. I am Team Patty. I was just going to say, I'm sorry, but I'm Team Patty.
Now, I don't really see this as being a battle because it's two soul juggernauts, but I can't wait. We're going to need to do a Zoom call so we can record ourselves acting crazy with our shoulder pads on because I'm damn sure going to have some on.
I'm going to get a shoulder pad shirt. I'm going
to get one.
Definitely.
I'm going to find me a dress with some shoulder pads.
A shoulder pad shirt or dress or something.
Shoulder's going to be out here. So that is this Sunday on, Instagram versus Patty and Gladys. I'm glad they are, being their Swizz and Timbaland are being very diverse with what they're doing. So they're giving us what we want. They really are, and it's just awesome. So I'll see you on Sunday for this one, because I'm darn sure going to schedule a meeting for that. All right. So now that we've gotten all the stuff out of the way, and I know y'all, the viewers and listeners are probably like, what are they doing? We're talking. That's what we do here. We have conversations over coffee. I actually do have coffee today. It is a cold brew. I'm going to be pinging off the walls all.
What's your one, what was it, one shot of cream?
Just one, because I'm fasting today until 6. And so I can only have like 50 calories.
You have been committed.
I'm trying. So I can only have like 50 calories, right? If you're going to have anything with calories. So that's why I only got this one shot of cream. I think that's about 50.
Okay.
Just the one, because it's Splenda. But consider I haven't eaten anything for 24 hours and I'm drinking a large cold brew. Girl, I'm gonna be up until next Thursday. You hear me? I'm still gonna be up. All right. So this week's story, we deviated from our normal topics of talking about crimes that happen in the African American community. And we did, and I did that because everyone commits crimes, and this is Black Coffee and Crime, so we can really talk about what we want to talk about. And I found this story interesting because it involves a celebrity, actually a celebrity's father, who is a hitman. So imagine this guy who's in movies knowing that his dad is a hitman. The gentleman that we're talking about is Charles Harrelson, who is the father of Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson of Natural Born Killers, and one of my favorites, Wildcats. If you're not old enough, you don't know about Woody Harrelson and Wildcats. Y'all may not remember him in Wildcats. So UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. What? Y'all remember that? And also, if you've never seen Kingpin, that's one of my favorite movies. I don't even want to start talking about Kingpin because I'm going to start laughing and crying at the same time because I think that's funny. But most people would know him from Cheers and Natural Born Killers. But let's see here. So Charles Harrelson, born here in Texas, small town in West Texas, in 1938. He was married 4 times. One of his 4 wives were Nancy, Diane Oswald, Joanne, and Gina Foster. Nancy did take the last name Harrelson, as well as Joanne was known as Harrelson as well. So by the time Woody is born, their mother is Diane. She has 3 children by him: Woody, whose name is Woodrow, Brett, and Jordan. Woody was born in 1961, but by 1968, Charles shook the spot. He gone. Daddy gone. Apparently, the parents do get divorced because he marries 2 more times after 1968. But get this, in 1968, when he left, he was already a hitman.
Oh, wow.
So in May of 1968, he accepts a hit for $1,500 to kill a carpet salesman. So he leaves his family. He goes and he kills a carpet salesman. It's $1,500, which is about, I think, like $18,000 now. Well, this is in 1968, so you're talking 20 grand in today's money.
No, I'm saying, who want to put a hit out on a carpet salesman?
That's business rival.
You're so right, but I'm just like, damn.
What kind of carpet are y'all selling?
Yeah.
I gotta kill you because of damn carpet. So the guy he kills is his name is Alan Berg, who Alan happens to be the brother of a prominent attorney in Houston as well. So Charles has a woman, most likely Joanne, who was his wife, I think, kind of distract the guy. He knocks him over the head, puts him in the trunk of his car. He then later strangles him and shoots him in the head. Get this though, he's acquitted. He's not convicted of that murder. They know he did it, but his attorney had only lost one capital murder case.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got the best attorney at the time, and the attorney got him off. He was acquitted of that crime.
Got him with Johnny Cochran, huh?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's not done. In the same year, Charles does it again. So fall, November of 1968. By this time, he is in business, a heroin distribution with this guy named Peter Thomas Scamardo, or Scamardo. And Pete gets him to kill his business rival, well, actually his business partner, for $2,000. Pete is helping. He and Charles are in this heroin distribution business basically because he looks like a regular businessman. He's able to transport drugs back and forth to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something happened with one of the distributions. Didn't go well. So Charles was missing some money. Pete convinces him, hey, kill my business partner, who is Sam DeGalia. He's a grain salesman. Farmer and grain salesman. So these are really mundane, low, what do they call it? Basically their lifestyles doesn't
match up with what it is, the whole idea. I mean, just
right. So
I wouldn't think that, I just wouldn't think a farmer is like, a grain salesman is like, you know what, kill off my business partner because I don't feel like dealing with them.
What kind of contracts are you getting in 1968 that you're willing to kill your grain salesman partner or the carpet salesman? So he gets him to kill this guy to basically make up the loss of the heroin, because it was like a traffic incident where they got stopped and the money was lost or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he kills this guy for $2,000. He is convicted of this crime. He receives 15 years in prison. Yeah. But
oh Lord,
he's released in 5 years on good behavior. Good behavior. 15 years. There was another killer in Texas. It's not Henry Lee Lucas. It was, let me look up, Texas killer released.
No.
He's a famous killer. His name was Kenneth McDuff. So he was another killer who was released when he was given death. It was commuted when the death penalty was abolished. So his death sentence was commuted to life. But because Texas prisons were overcrowded, he was let go because of good behavior. And then he goes out, he had killed somebody, but then he gets out and becomes a serial killer.
Wow.
So yeah, this is Kenneth McDuff. And if you read a story about his crimes, it's really, really bad. Mm-hmm. So he kills 3 teenagers, and he gets convicted, death penalty, all that. They abolished the death penalty. Texas prisons become overcrowded, so they let him out, and then he actually becomes a serial killer and serial rapist. Yeah. So Texas is bad for letting folks out, apparently, who don't deserve it. So yeah, Charles is let go for good behavior on a murder charge. Like,
it's a murder. Okay.
It's a murder, straight up murder. And it a hit at that. Like, not second degree murder, not we were in a fight. You accepted money to kill somebody and we let you go. So yeah. So he's not done because he ain't done. One of the cops involved said something, and I'm paraphrasing, said something to the effect that, whoever crosses Charles's path is basically destroyed. So if you cross his path,
Wow.
your life is going to be destroyed in some way, some fashion. Now, while he's doing this, he is not in contact with any of his kids.
Right.
Yeah. So his 3 sons they have no idea where he is, what he's doing, nothing. But the way that Woody found out where his father was, who his father was, and what he was doing was on the radio. On the radio. So the next crime he commits, during the trial, they have it on the radio because he's on trial for murdering a federal judge. So in 1981, the trial goes on. That's when Woody finds out where and who his father is. So imagine being a young teenager or whatever, and you're like on the radio, you listen to the radio, and they're like, Charles Harrelson, blah, 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 convicted of or on trial for murder of a federal judge. So the way that this goes down is, of course, he's still in the business because that's what he does. So in 1979, he accepts a hit for $250,000.
Ooh, in 1979?
1979 money. $250,000. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money now.
That's a lot of money back then.
So that's probably $750,000 right now. That's not a bad bit of change. I'm not saying you should go out there and solicit yourself as a hitman for it, but I'm just saying it's a nice change. So he is approached by these guys called the Chagra brothers from El Paso. They are drug smugglers. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 brothers, Jamil and I believe Sam as well. And basically, Jamil is on trial, and the presiding judge is Judge John H. Wood Jr. And he is going to be convicted and sentenced. This judge was known as like a very strict judge. If you were in his court and you were convicted, you were going to get the maximum amount of time. And Jamil, which they call him Jimmy, he didn't want to do that. His brother was an attorney, so his brother was his attorney. Mm-hmm. And they, had prison conversations, and typically your conversations with your attorney are protected, right?
Right.
These conversations, however, were not, because when he would call, sometimes he would say that he was calling as his attorney. Sometimes he would be calling as his brother. So those conversations that Jimmy and his brother were having, where he didn't specify that I'm calling as the attorney of, those were recorded and able to be used in court. Well, Jimmy was also trying to bribe that same judge.
Wow.
To not give him time. It didn't work. So now you're on trial for drug distribution and bribery of a federal judge.
Yeah.
So the day that he was supposed to be going back to court, Charles strikes and shoots the judge. He would have probably gotten away with it if it wasn't for those pesky little phone calls. So during the phone calls that Jimmy was having with his brother, what was that?
I was like, I know he didn't talk about it in the phone calls.
Mm-hmm. He talked about it in the phone calls because he thought that those calls would be protected. So during attorney-client privilege, you can pretty much say anything on the phone.
That is true.
Whether it's recorded or not, and they can't use it. But during some of those calls, his brother would call and, basically specify, I'm calling as the attorney of Jamil. Some of those calls, he didn't do that. So the government was able to twist that around and said, well, he wasn't calling as his attorney. He was calling as his brother. He was talking to his brother, not his attorney.
Right.
And so in those calls to his brother, Charles Harrelson was implicated and basically convicted. For that, he got 2 life sentences. Subsequently, Jamil was convicted and he got like 30 years. So he still got the 30 years. He was actually released in 1997 or 1998. And he died a couple years later. But yeah, Harrelson was convicted and sentenced to 2 life sentences for that. And his wife, Joanne, his last wife, Joanne, was that the last one? Let me make sure. No, that wasn't his last wife, but the wife at the time, Joanne, was also sentenced to 20 years for conspiracy and perjury charges.
What?
So she was in on it too, and she got those 20 years. Now, Charles is not done. He wasn't immediately apprehended for those murders. This is why Woody Harrelson found out on the radio. He was on the run for a little bit. So in 1980, he was in a shootout with the police. When they finally caught up with him, he was in a shootout with the police. And at that time, he confessed to being a part of the JFK assassination.
What?
Right.
Oh, that's
so
deep.
He says, now during that day, November 22nd, 1963, there were 3. So Lee Harvey Oswald is credited with the murder, with the assassination. Right. But there were also 3 gentlemen, like vagabonds, hobos, whatever you want to call them, who were apprehended by the police near the grassy knoll. I never knew that. I knew Lee Harvey Oswald, second shooter, and the babushka lady that they can't identify.
Right. That's all I knew.
I never knew about these 3 men who were apprehended near the assassination point. So he says that he was one of those 3 men, and they were part of the plot to kill JFK. Wow. Well, he also recanted and said that no, he wasn't, that, he was high on cocaine and he just said that. But why would you say that?
That's a random thing to say, though.
Right. Later on, those gentlemen were identified in 1963, but later on, it was never highly publicized that there were 3 people who they thought were involved. But later on, they did release the names of those 3 gentlemen and say, yes, we have them, and none of them were Charles Harrelson. But it's still, why would you say that? And Charles Harrelson he's from Texas. He was in and near Dallas at that time. Mm-hmm. So they're saying that it is a possibility, but it can't be proven whether or not he was a part of the plot to kill JFK. Hell, they haven't proven anything about JFK at this point, some 60-some years later. But yeah, so he did say that, but he recanted and said he was high, and that's why he said that when he was arrested. But wow.
So random.
Yeah, that's just random. Hey, I know you got me for killing the judge, but I also killed the president too.
Just let you know.
Yeah, just gonna throw that in there. So they send him to
while we're waiting, don't forget to go subscribe to our Instagram, Black Coffee and Crime, Facebook. Please subscribe. Please share, post. If you have questions, please inbox us. We're more than welcome to look at those stories. Message us if we say anything wrong. If you have new information, we like to read over all the information. Go watch our other shows, our other podcasts. They're amazing. They're great stories, and you enjoy anything that we've posted. So go ahead and do all that. Do all of that. Miss Brandy is still delayed.
Girl. Woo! Jesus. Oh, look at God. Look at God. All right. I'm gonna hold this tripod because it's trying me. It really is. I'm gonna get another one because yeah, I'm gonna get another one. Okay, so what I was talking about before the world fell apart was that he was initially sentenced to the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, but in 1985, he and some other inmates attempted an escape. It wasn't successful, and he was then transferred to the Federal Penitentiary in Florence, ADX Florence, which is known as Supermax. This is one of the most secure and guarded prisons in the country, which happens to be a private prison right now, I believe. So that's an issue as well. Woody, he was there until he died of a heart attack in 2007. He was reunited with Woody, and Woody spent about $2 million trying to help him with his trial, getting a fair trial, basically, because he said that, you know, there was an issue with his conviction, his life conviction of the killing the Judge John H. Wood. So, but that really didn't go anywhere. So Woody stopped, and you know, he visited his father on a regular basis. They don't really say whether or not the other two sons visited him often, but I guess that's just because of Woody's notoriety as an actor. Really weren't mentioned in any articles. But yeah, I mean,
he pretty much made it kind of
right.
like, you know, make my peace and just, you know,
like, yeah, you're still my dad, and I'm going to, you know, I'm still gonna be here for you or whatever. But yeah, I mean, how crazy is it that you are on your way to an acting career and your dad is a hitman? And you know, one of the things that's crazy about that is not a lot of people know that. So
did not know that.
For him to be such a popular actor, you know, in this information age, everybody knows everything. We know when Kim Kardashian vomits. We know how much, you know, how many grains of salt are on some celebrities' toast, avocado toast. Like, we know everything about celebrities, but this is something that was not widely known. So that's one of the reasons why I included that as one of the stories. Y'all can see me struggling with this tripod because I do not want it to fall. Yes, we're gonna pray that this has glue on the bottom next week. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's just the craziness in this information age, that we know everything and then there's nothing out there about that. Like, how would you feel just as a normal citizen? Like, you know, like, you don't know your dad and all of a sudden your mom's like, hey, you know that guy? That's your dad. Like,
yeah, that's my initial. I'd be like, what? Girl? Like
right.
Initially you'd be like, kind of like, I probably would be a tad bit embarrassed because I'll be like, Dad, really? Why do you have to be known as the person that did this? But because of me, I'm going to want to know about it. I got to know everything there is to know about it. And then I'll probably obsess myself with trying to figure out what happened and how I get there. Then I need to talk to you and I need to know how you got there. So,
right. And that's probably why Woody like supported his father, even though he was convicted of these crimes. Like, I still need to know who this person is that is my father. How did you get here? Because in 1968, when he left his family, 2 times in that year, he was on trial for murder, twice in the same year. So you leave us. So that leads me to believe that he killed Alan Berg, or allegedly killed Alan Berg, while he was still with his family. And then he leaves and he gets caught, and then he's acquitted, and then immediately he's on trial again in November of killing Sam DeGalia. So this was truly a bad man. Yeah. Like, this is not the soccer father. You do not want him picking up your kids to take them to baseball practice. You know, because your kids are going to be an accessory to a crime. Like, what did you do today, Timmy? Oh, we went with Woody's father to dig a grave. What?
No thanks.
Yeah, no thanks.
No,
so
not my children.
Yeah, so that's all we have on Charles Harrelson. Do you have an idea of what you want to do for next week, or should we wait to announce that at a later time on Instagram and on Facebook?
We're gonna do Instagram and Facebook. See, what I do is because I always fall down rabbit holes. I did it today, and I'm not gonna lie, I have been obsessed with Janae Benet Ramsey. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how I fell back down that hole, because I was in that hole, and it took me a minute to get out of it, and somehow I have included myself back in this hole. All I saw was one person with one different theory, and I was just like, huh.
That is the biggest whodunit of this century. We've had the Lindbergh baby, we've had OJ, we have all these things, but JonBenet Ramsey, I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold it just in case you do that story either next week or at another time.
That's what we're doing. Let's talk about JonBenet Ramsey. We have to do it. And I know she's not out, but we can do what we want to do. And we have to talk about that baby.
Okay. And it's crazy because again, we live in the world of celebrity and crazy Kanye. And I'm gonna say crazy Kanye because I want to and I can. One of the things that he said on his tirade was talking about having his kids in the limelight and all of this stuff. But yet and I'm saying we as a society, we don't allow children to grow organically anymore. And celebrity kids are always on camera. They're always little fashionistas. They kids playing makeup, but we don't usually record it and put it on a magazine. And so JonBenet Ramsey was what, 6 or 7?
Yes.
And in some photos,
she was 6.
She looks quite mature. And it's scary and really disturbing that in the pageant world, that's what they do. They make their teeth perfect. When they have snaggletooth, they put the falsies in and all of that. So it's going to be very interesting to talk about your theories on JonBenet. I will definitely be falling down that same rabbit hole because I have probably a similar theory because I'm suspicious of everything and everybody when it comes to it.
Everything is suspicious. That whole dang on story.
You know what?
You know what?
Let's just stop because
we'll
stop. It's going to be an 8-hour show with us talking about JonBenet. So next week we are very likely to cover JonBenet Ramsey. And given the breadth of that story, we probably won't do a lot going on Al Gore's internet, but we might because we got time. So we're going to go ahead and end tonight, and you guys are more than welcome to research JonBenet Ramsey. Come to us with your opinions. Always put in the comments of what you think happened, and then we'll go from there. So we are going to bid you adieu, and always, thank you guys for listening or viewing, and have a great night. Be blessed, be safe, and enjoy that extra cup, especially if it's a cold brew. So good night and thank you. We'll see you guys next week.